Very good evening, everyone. We're very welcome. We're very glad to welcome you tonight to our final webinar from the Business English webinar series. And tonight we have our webinar with Alexandra Dolce, attorney from United States, from New York, and she's going to speak about non-for-profits and about joint venture cooperatives. At the end of our webinar, we will speak about what is waiting for us ahead, what is the logistics of our test, if someone would like to receive the certificate, but it's going to be only at the end of our webinar. And now I'm giving the floor to Alexandra. Alexandra, hello.
Hi, Russia. Good evening. I'm glad everyone's here. So again, rules, if you hear Sophia say hands, that's because I'm using my hands. I have some slides, the printout of the slides next to me in case I get confused or something, I need to refer to them. And just for warning, if my glasses fall off, don't be surprised because they're broken. So I was able to fix them, but I don't want to catch anybody by surprise. So this evening, it's evening for you, afternoon for me, morning actually. I want to do some quick review because these are some things that I believe that you guys weren't clear about when we were reviewing agency and we were reviewing for-profit. So the first two slides are basically a review. All right, agency. Jerry owns a restaurant. He has a staff that helps him with the cooking, cleaning, and delivery. His delivery truck broke down. He hires Ian to fix it. Ian is not an employee, but can act as his agent in reference to fixing anything that has to do with the truck. If Ian gets into an accident or commits a misfeasance, Jerry will not be vicariously liable for any of his acts. Does everyone understand what vicarious liability is? Remember we talked about it? Okay, I'm assuming that's a yes.
Yes, yes, it's a yes. Yes.
Okay.
Like liability for the actions of third parties.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. So, however, when out delivering an order, Jerry's delivery person, Doug, okay, drops an order of hot soup on the ground. So Doug is delivering the soup, he drops it on the ground. The soup burns a person passing by. So someone was passing by, Doug drops the soup, and it burns somebody. Is Jerry liable for Doug's accident if the passerby sues? Is Jerry liable for Doug's acts?
We will just wait for the answer because we remember that we have a small delay in in broadcasting. So, and I have already got the answer, and I assume that Yelena, you answered this question. If I'm incorrect, please correct me. So there is a question. Yes, there is an answer. Yes.
Yeah. So Doug, Jerry would be responsible for Doug dropping the suit because Doug is his employee and his agent, not only his agent, his employee and his agent. And Doug was delivering the soup, which is within the scope of his employment. And therefore, Jerry can be vicariously liable. So I wanted to distinguish that because a lot of people have the problem with the agent and the employee, what they do. So you can have an agent, but the agent doesn't necessarily have to be your employee. Okay. And your employees are usually your agents. Okay. Goodwill. So goodwill is the premium, because last week we had somebody corrected me and I just kind of wanted to focus on what I was talking about the last time. Okay. Goodwill is the premium that is paid when a business is acquired. If a business is acquired for more than its book value, the acquiring business is paying for tangible items such as intellectual property, brand recognition, skill labor, customer loyalty, etc. All right. So, that is also the person's reputation if a company gives it to charities, etc. All right. So that is goodwill. Last time, I think I only gave you a narrow definition of charities. Goodwill is the company giving, a corporation giving to charities. It includes a lot more. So what happens? I want to buy Coca-Cola, and I said to Coca-Cola, okay, I'm going to offer you 30 billion for this company. And Coca-Cola says 30 billion. I think you should offer us 40 billion. And I said, 40 billion? Why should I pay you 40 billion? Why? Because we're already well known all over the world. Okay. Everybody knows the Coca-Cola trademark. Okay, our labor with people who've been doing this for years. We have customer loyalty. People all over the world drink Coca-Cola. So you should pay. So that's basically goodwill in a box. However, there is a formula that calculates goodwill. I'm not a finance person, so I didn't bring up the formula. So, but there is a formula that does calculate it. So I just wanted to clarify all of that before we proceed. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about this today is a joint venture, okay? A joint venture, or JV, is a business arrangement in which two or more parties agree to pool their resources for the purpose of accomplishing a specific task. This task can be a new project or any other business activity, okay? Each of the participants in a JV is responsible for profits, losses, and costs associated with it. However, the venture is its own entity separate from the participants' other business interests, okay? So a joint venture, I decide with my friend, I own a restaurant, she owns a restaurant. She decides that we're gonna start a delivery company that's gonna help us deliver all our food, okay? So it's a totally different venture. Okay, we come together as a group, or even if it's two or more people, we're all responsible, but it's not a partnership. Because why? It's a totally different entity that's being formed. Okay, a JV is not a partnership. That term is reserved for a single business entity that is formed by two or more people. Okay, so remember, a partnership is one entity that's two. JVs join two or more different entities into a new one, which may or may not be a partnership. So in this case, you have A plus B equals 1 instead of A plus B equals C. Okay, so you have something totally, totally different. You know, with a partnership, okay, we have a partnership, we're running, we're going to be partners, we're going to be running a law firm, or we're going to be running an accounting firm. This one says, okay, no, we're coming together, we're going to join, but we're going to do something completely different. We're going to have each of us have our own companies, and we're going to do something completely different. That's very, very important to understand. Okay, leverage, reasons for entering into a JV. Leveraging resources. A JV can take advantage of the combined resources of both companies to achieve the goal of the venture. One company might have a well-established manufacturing process, while the other company might have superior distribution channels. Okay, so we come together, we're going to join, like I gave you the example, me and my friend, we're going to do this delivery company. All right, so maybe she has people who are excellent drivers, who know the roads, who know the landscape. Right. So I'm going to use that. So you pool your resources together. It's a way of pooling your resources together so you don't have to spend that much money. You don't have to do that much research. It saves you time and money when you leverage or pool your resources. Reduce costs by using economies of scale. So economies of scale means savings gained by increased production. Okay. Sometimes when you produce, sometimes you lose money. The more you produce, the more you lose, but savings gained by increased production. So both of the companies in the JV can leverage their production at lower per unit cost than they would separately. All right. So if we're doing this together, we're running this company together, it's going to be cheaper because we're splitting everything. This is particularly appropriate with technology advances that are costly to implement. Other cost savings can include sharing advertising or labor. Advertising is very expensive in the United States, so anything to share, the cost is welcome. Okay, more reasons to enter into a JV. Combined expertise, very, very important. Two companies or parties forming a JV might each have different backgrounds, skill sets, or expertise. When these are combined through a JV, each company can benefit through the other's talent. So again, leveraging talent, it's very important. We're coming together. If two car companies are coming together to form another car company, to manufacture another car company, okay, we all have talents that we bring. Okay, my accounting department may be superior to yours, but your human resources department may be superior to mine. We're combining those to get the best effect. Okay, last but most important, enter foreign markets. Another common use of JVs is to partner with a local business to enter a foreign market. A company that wants to expand its distribution network to new countries can enter into a JV agreement to supply products to local businesses, thus benefiting from an already existing distribution network. So you want to go into a different country. Say, for instance, I have CNC. CNC was it was comparable to Coca-Cola. It sold soft drinks. So say I want to bring CNC to China or maybe Canada. I would go into, I would form another company in order to do that. It would be easier for me to do a joint venture with another company in order to bring CNC into another, CNC cola into another country. Okay, so which one is not a reason to enter into a JV? Not a reason. Leverage resources, enter foreign markets, form a solid partnership, reduce costs. Which one is not a reason to enter into a JV?
And while we're waiting for the answers on YouTube, I have actually received a question via Telegram.
Sure.
So we do have some people who don't quite catch the difference between a merger and a joint venture and a partnership.
Okay, so a merger, when you have a merger, two companies coming together. Okay, I'm taking you in. You're my family now. You're living with me. We're consolidating. We're one now. A plus B equals C now, or A plus B equals A. You know, we're all coming together. We're one. Okay, a partnership, a joint venture could be a partnership. It could be, but a joint venture is I come to you and I say, okay, like I told you, I sell food, you sell food. We need a way to deliver the food. Let's band our money together, our resources together, and start a delivery company. Okay,
like
so it's
a separate,
it's a totally separate
different
entity. So in this case, A plus B is equal to 1. It's a totally different entity.
Okay, so совместное предприятие, which we usually call it for short in Russian. Okay, thank you very much. Just wanted to clarify it. And we had some questions from Oleg on our Telegram. And we have a lot of answers on YouTube to your question, which is not a reason to enter into JV. We have absolute total, everyone has one answer. It's C.
Okay, form a solid about exactly. Good. Very, very good. Remember, JV is not a partnership. It can be in the form of a partnership, but it's not necessarily a partnership. That's very important. It could be a corporation. It's usually a corporation. All right. Some countries have restrictions on foreigners entering their market, making a JV with a local entity almost the only way to do business in the country. JV examples. Car manufacturer BMW formed a joint venture with Chinese automobile manufacturer Brilliance Auto Group in 2003. The venture named BMW Brilliance was formed to produce and sell BMW cars in China. So what did they do? They wanted to sell BMW. They created another business, a completely different business named BMW Brilliance to sell those cars. So it's not BMW, it's not Brilliance, but it's BMW Brilliance, a totally different entity. Okay, that's the concept of a joint venture. The partners jointly agreed to invest 450 million euro in the venture, with BMW taking 50% in the child company, while Brilliance Auto took 40.5. The remaining 9.5 went to the Shenyang municipal government. Okay, so, all right. This is going to be interesting. All right. This example of a horizontal joint venture was brought about due to laws in China requiring that manufacturing operations be at least 50% Chinese owned. However, China has since begun eliminating this requirement for automobiles, and in 2018, BMW subsequently announced its plan to increase its stake in BMW Brilliance to 75%. This makes BMW the first foreign car manufacturer to take control of its joint venture in China. Very interesting. So remember, China requires that manufacturer operations be at least 50% Chinese owned. If we look at this slide, and I double checked this 2 times, the BMW owned 50% of the stake already. So why do you think that China let BMW take 50% of the stake?
We will ask this question, to everyone. And while we're waiting for the answer, so why did China allow BMW to take this 50%? We actually have another question now from YouTube. A question about joint venture. Could joint venture be created by several firms, not like 2, but 3 or 4 coming together?
You could have it in as many firms as you want.
Okay, so... And we're just waiting for the answer. So there is an interesting answer from Pavel about your question. Why did China allow this 50%? He says more investment into the country. So
okay. One more. Somebody else. Give me something else.
Okay, everyone. We need more.
I'll tell you what I think. I'll tell you what I think. Somebody else give me an answer. Or somebody. Okay. So why
And
would
can
it
you
be like
please
fucking-
repeat the question so we can just once again
Okay, so
remind
basically
everyone?
here, the laws in China require that manufacturing operations be at least 50% Chinese owned. In this case, BMW owned 50%. Brilliance got 40.5, I believe. So
Mhm.
why did they let BMW do 50% if their law says manufacturing operations should be at least 50%? So it should have been Brilliance 50% and or 51% and BMW 40 or 41 or whatever. You know, it should have been flipped. So why did China allow that, do you think?
So actually, we have also Elena who agrees with Pavel. They think that this way BMW would invest just more money because they will feel that they are pretty partners, as I understand, with China, that they are not like suppressed in the business, that they have a say in the business.
All right, but let me ask you this. Do you think it's because it's BMW? Remember, BMW is a high brand.
Yes.
So it's BMW, guys. This isn't just any manufacturing. This is BMW. So brand recognition is very, very important. If BMW, like a company like BMW comes to invest and manufacture in China, then what? Other big brands are going to want to do the same thing. So this is my thinking. Okay, because it's BMW, they let them do the 50%. That's my thinking. So brand recognition is very, very important. And brand recognition is also important for China, again, because China was in the process of manufacturing its own automobile. So I don't know where that is at this point. But think about it. Here's BMW. They're coming to manufacture. BMW could manufacture here. That means our quality is good because German cars are supposed to be superior. So, you know, our quality is good. And therefore, when we manufacture our cars, what? Our cars are going to be good too. If we can do BMW, we can do anybody. That's what okay. Can you give me an example of any of a joint venture similar to the BMW Brilliance JV that took place in Russia? Do you guys know of any or?
Let's just ask. Yes. And while we're waiting for the answer, we have some comments about your last words related to the high quality brand that basically it's the example of goodwill, which comes into play here in this particular transaction.
Exactly. That's an excellent analysis. You know what I mean? I'm giving you my good name. This is BMW. Exactly. Okay.
Okay, so actually, we do have a comment from Yelena who says that when McDonald's was in Russia, because now they officially left the Russian market, it was the example of joint venture, basically also Sakhalin 2 project, which is related to some mineral resources, Yandex probably. So Yulia says, so there are some questions that there might be the similar structures in Russia.
Okay, very good. That's excellent. Okay, pros and cons of a JV. The pros, positives. A joint venture gives each party the opportunity to exploit a new business opportunity without bearing all the costs and risks. Joint ventures by nature are riskier than business as usual, and sharing the risk is a wise move. Exactly. So, I mean, you know, you're dealing with somebody who's already established. They know what they're doing. So let's give the China BMW Brilliance example. So, you know, BMW going into China, the Brilliance already knows what manufacturing is like. They've manufactured cars before, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, it's risky, but we're not going to take all the risk. If BMW would have to go there, establish their own plant, you know, establish and get employees, et cetera, that would be much, much more expensive. Continued, if the right participants are involved, the joint venture also starts out with a broader base of knowledge and pool of talent than any one party possesses on its own. That's true. So you have Brilliance and BMW and Brilliance, they're pooling their labor. We talked about this before. Two people coming together. For example, a joint entertainment venture to set up an animation studio and a streaming content provider can get off the ground more quickly and probably with a better chance of success than either participant do alone, could be good alone. So say, for instance, I own an animation studio, I make cartoons, and he said, you know what, I really, really, really want to stream these online. Let me start my own streaming business. Why do you have to do that? You can go with a streaming content person who already knows how to stream content, has all the marketing skills, etc., and all the technical skills. You do a joint venture with them, and it's going to be easier. Cons of a JV. Negatives. Embarking on a joint venture requires relinquishing a degree of control. The vital decisions are being made by two or more parties. Okay, this is very, very important. And I think that BMW is very, very brave for doing this. Remember, BMW is like a major brand. So here is BMW going and saying to China, you manufacture a car with my name on it. Okay, so that's very, very big. So you're relinquishing a lot of control. Very, very.
And yes, and just wanted, a lot of our participants might not know this very specific word. Well, a lot do know. So relinquishing, can we say that it's like giving up?
Giving
or
up.
like
You give up, yeah.
Surrendering.
Okay, further, the companies involved must go into the project with the same goals and an equal degree of commitment. Very, very important. If you're having a joint venture and you're starting something new, everybody has to be on the same page. You know what I mean? Okay, we're going to build cars. And you're just like, oh, well, maybe not cars. Maybe, so everybody has to be, it's very, very important because you're starting this particular company for one particular reason. So you have to be on the same page. You have to know everybody has to want the same thing, the same end result. That's very, very important. Setting up a joint venture multiplies the number of management teams involved. If one party undergoes a significant change in its business structure or executive team, the joint venture can get lost in the shuffle. Very important. So say, for instance, during the joint venture with BMW and Brilliance, BMW got rid of its, executive team. Okay, and for some reason or a new executive team comes in and says, you know what, we're not as committed to this as the other team was. So we're gonna, discuss, we're gonna do the negotiations, but we might, instead of manufacturing 100 cars, we might want to, test, manufacture 50 in the beginning, whatever. So you have to know who you're dealing with. Things change. So it's important that when you're starting the joint venture, you try to make sure that everyone is in the same page and that, in the background, there are no mergers or acquisitions going on or changes in executive or management. That's very, very important because if that's the case, what you initially planned on happening may not happen. Extreme differences between participants' company cultures and management styles can be a barrier to success. Will the executives of an animation studio be able to communicate in the same language as the executives of a digital streaming giant? They might, or they might line up in opposing camps. It's very important. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that the culture in Brilliance's company and BMW's company is totally different. Why? Because the cultures of people are totally different. So the management styles are going to be totally, totally different. And again, with the animation studio and the digital streaming giant, okay, everyone knows that artists are dreamers. Okay, they like things pretty, as long as it's pretty, as long as it's nice, as long as it's this. Digital streaming giant, their business. So their culture must be totally different. They might butt heads. Oh, but we want it to look this well. It's going to cost, an extra $1 million if it looks like this. So, you know what I mean? Your dream, the way you want your dream to be manifested may not be the same dream that your JV, the person you're in the joint venture wants manifested. It may be too expensive. They may not get it. They may not care, et cetera, et cetera. So that's something for you to consider. How to set up a JV. Regardless of the JV structure, the most important document will be the agreement. Remember, in the beginning, we did contracts. We talked about contracts. Agreements are the basis of everything, okay? The agreement sets out all the rights and obligations of each party in the venture, the objectives, the initial contributions of the parties, the day-to-day operations, the right to the profits, and the responsibility for losses are set out in the JV agreement. It's important to draft it with care to avoid risking litigation down the road. And let me make a comment about this. So remember I said a new management team comes in and they say, okay, well, you know what, we said that we're going to try a test run. We're going to manufacture 100 cars this year. We want to do it. We want to only manufacture 50. Okay, they have a contract that says that they're going to manufacture 100 cars, but now they want to go down to 50. What would they do to change that, bring that down to 50? What do you think would happen?
So can you please repeat once again a question? So
The
we
question
will.
If one person wants to change the terms of the agreement, how do you think that they'd be able to do that? Because it's a signed contract.
You mean between the parties to a
The
joint
parties
venture?
that are in a joint venture. Like I gave you the example,
Mhm.
car company. They initially decided that they were going to manufacture 100 cars for the first year. The change of management comes, they say, all right, no, we only want 50. Okay, we're only agreeing to 50.
Mhm.
The contract says 100. How do they bypass that? How do they change that? How do they bypass that? What do
Okay.
you think?
And while we are waiting for the answer, we have another question about joint venture. So there's a question: if somebody wants to sue a joint venture, do partners of joint venture act separately, or like separate defendants, or they're going to be like
They're
a
not
single defendants in court?
It's a single defendant. It's the joint venture that so if you want to sue BMW Brilliance, you sue BMW Brilliance. You don't sue BMW or you don't sue Brilliance. You sue the company itself.
Okay, thank you very much. And we do have answers to your question about what if there is some disagreement along the road. Yelena says that all parties should agree. Marusia says that they should resolve it by negotiating. And Pavel says that they should write additional agreement to main contract.
Okay, no. So basically it's a negotiation process. And you have to, you negotiate and then you basically, rewrite the contract or rewrite the term of that particular term in the contract. And the reason why in a situation like this is a big, the car example that I gave you, that's a lot of money. So remember the objectives of two car companies coming together in a market, a foreign market, means that the person that, is manufacturing the car is going to get a lot of benefits. They may not want to lose those benefits. So what they may do is they may acquiesce and say, okay, fine, you want 50 now, let's start 50. Okay. So basically, you basically go negotiate and you change the contract. Or, I mean, you could definitely say, well, we're going to do this, but we'll put it on the back table. And what happens when it goes on the back table? It could be months, it could be years.
And what do you mean on the back table?
That means they ignore it. They ignore the deal. They don't talk about, I'm sorry, they ignore the deal. They don't talk about it. They just put it, they just put it someplace and say, okay, here's the deal. We'll deal with this later. And a year passes, 2 years passes, 3 years passes, and nothing happens. Okay. So, and risking litigation, remember, especially if you're doing like if the company is within your country, within your country, that's easy to litigate. Well, it's not easy to litigate. But if you're dealing with a foreign country, it's much harder to litigate. So, okay, we'll get to it. Yes, we'll discuss it. This is what we want, whatever. And time goes by, and initially the deals fall through. That happens a lot. Deals fall through a lot. Okay. All right, next, what is a consortium? A consortium is a group made up of two or more individuals, companies, or governments that work together to achieving a common objective. Entities that participate in a consortium pool resources, but are otherwise only responsible for the obligations that are set out in the consortium's agreement. Every entity that is under the consortium therefore remains independent with regard to their normal business operations and has no say over another member's operations that are not related to the consortium. Let me give you an example. When I was in university in Washington, D.C., I attended Howard University. I graduated from Howard University. So Howard University, American University, George Washington University, Georgetown University, they had a consortium, okay? And what happens is if for some reason Georgetown was giving a class that Howard wasn't giving, I can go to Georgetown and take that class and pay the same amount of money that I would at Howard University. Okay, I would go Georgetown, take their class, use the library or whatever. But still Howard, Georgetown, all the other universities in the consortium, they had no say in the others' operations, nothing. We just agreed that this is what we're going to do for the students in DC, and that's it. So that's a consortium. You're coming together to achieve a common goal, but you stay totally independent.
Mm-hmm.
Consortiums are often found in the nonprofit sector, for example, among educational institutions. Educational consortiums often pool resources such as libraries, research activities, and professors, and share them throughout the members of the group to benefit their students. Several groups of North American colleges and universities operate as consortiums. As I told you, okay, you go to say for instance, you go to a state school, and this is, let's say you go to a state school in Massachusetts, and Harvard and Boston University are part of a consortium with your state school. So you can take classes at Harvard and pay the same amount of money that you would be paying if you went to a state school, which means that you'd be saving a lot of money, and you'd be taking a class at Harvard. So that's how consortiums work.
And can I ask a question? Because
Sure.
We have a question. It's actually a question about joint venture, but I think we can expand it. The question is, do we need to register joint venture, or the agreement is enough? And can we expand, you need to register a consortium, or?
Okay, for the joint venture and the consortium, the agreement is enough. There's no basic registration. It's an agreement. It's a contract. This is what we plan on doing. That's basically it.
Okay, thank you.
Consortiums for for-profit businesses. A corporate for-profit consortiums also exist, but they are less prevalent. When I say less prevalent, they're not as popular. Okay, one of the most famous for-profit consortiums is the airline manufacturer Airbus Industry, GIE. European aerospace manufacturers collaborate within the consortium to produce and sell commercial aircrafts, okay? So, and when I say they collaborate within the consortium to produce and sell, which means what? What do you think, when I said, what do you think that collaboration would look like? Anybody? For this particular, the Airbus Industry, GIE, what do you think that that collaboration would look like?
Okay, and while we're waiting for the answers, so we have a question again from our Telegram about the, actually it was a question about also airlines. There are sometimes associations, for example, Star Alliance, or any association where you, for example, fly a lot and you earn some miles, and you can get these miles from different airlines, but they are in one sort of association. Can we call this association and consortium? So,
Yeah,
or it will be another story.
Yeah, you can call it a consortium as long as, you come together, you pool resources. If you fly here, you can fly. Yeah. But remember, as long as each airline is independent and is not collaborating in terms of management, whatever. You see what I'm saying? As long as everybody stays, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to come together. We're going to do this as a consortium, but, we're going to pull together our resources, in order to make things easier for our students, or in order to make things easier for us to produce. But that's all we're going to do. We're just going to pull our resources, and that's it. We're not going to, you're not going to control me. You're not going to have a vote. You're nothing. You know what I mean? That's it. And again, the agreement has to spell that out. There's going to be an agreement, and it has to spell that out.
Okay, thank you very much, because it's very interesting. And up to now, Alexandra, we have not a single answer.
Okay, that's fine.
To your question about the Airbus.
Okay, so the Airbus industry, if they do a consortium, what would it look like? Okay, so they're producing and selling aircrafts. Maybe they may have consortium on certain parts that they buy. Maybe one of them, has a part and they could sell it cheaper. It could be cheaper. You know what I mean? Or they can, in terms of parts, in terms of maybe even labor, you know what I mean? You may borrow this person, for they may be a consultant for you. Or there may be plans, you know what I mean? They have airplane plans, you know what I mean? This is what an aircraft should look like. We're having problems with our aircraft here. What do you think it should look like? Do you have, based on your experience, can you show me your plans when you were building this? Okay. So it could be a lot of exchange of a lot of technical information. So that's basically what it would look like.
And we do have a question, which actually is very in the line of what you're saying. A question from our viewers. If there is no registration of joint venture and consortium, how does the government control the compliance with antitrust laws?
Okay, that's a very, very, very good question.
Mhm.
So okay, when you say antitrust laws, okay, how would that work? Because antitrust is basically saying we don't want you to get too big, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, but if I'm, let's say BMW, and I create BMW Brilliance, I'm no longer BMW. I'm BMW Brilliance. I'm a totally different person. So I'm technically, BMW isn't getting bigger. It's just expanding. It has a totally, there's a totally different company that's formed. So it's technically, remember, I keep on telling you guys, this has nothing to do with the people that are involved in the joint. It's something that's totally, totally, totally different. So let me give you the example of the restaurant. Me and my friend, we own a restaurant. We want to start a delivery company. Okay. That delivery company has nothing to do with our restaurant. We may use it to deliver our food, but it's a totally different company. It has nothing to do with our restaurants. It's totally different. So you can't say, oh, you're getting too big because you own this delivery company. No, we're not getting too big because it's not part of our company. It's a totally different company. You see the difference?
Yes, but there are more questions over here, more and more. But I
Ask me.
understand that it's a
What's the
huge
question?
topic. Yes, because yeah,
Ask me
it's
one more question,
understandable.
because I'm not going to be here next week to answer them or do a review. So ask me one more question.
Yes. So, and as we have some comments from our viewers from Pavel, that it's a tricky move, that it's another company. Yes. So, which is kind of understandable. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is a tricky move, and it is a tricky move, and it may be, in a lot of ways, it may be a way to skirt antitrust. It may be, you know, it may be, you know what I mean? But you have to understand you're totally different company. It's like, you know, you go out and you take somebody else's child and say, you know, you can't say it's my child, it's somebody else's child. This is completely, it's a joint venture. It's completely different. It has nothing to do with us. It has, you know, we started it together. This is what we want to do. We collaborated and everything, but it pays its own taxes. It has its own company, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It comes when it needs some guidance. It may come to us, but that's basically it. So it's a totally, totally different company. Okay. Consortiums in government. Governments and private enterprises often collaborate to formulate standards for manufacturing, food production, product compatibility, consumer safety, and more. In such collaborations, the government leverages its buying power as a consumer to create standards. Okay. So a lot of times you have governments that come together with private enterprises. And say, for instance, a lot of times government, let's say it's a government school, and a state school, and it buys food for the cafeteria, for the students and the teachers to eat. Okay. All right. So you form a consortium and say, you know, okay, based on our agreement, I'm going to go to you if I need bread. Okay. I'm going to go to you for the bread, or if I'm running out of XYZ, you know, maybe eggs, I'll go to you for eggs instead of going to an outside person. We'll rely on each other. Okay. Now, when it says the government leverages its buying power, you know, the governments have particular standards. So it may say, okay, so I'm going to buy this bread for you, or I'm going to, you know, use, you know, this particular, I don't know, this particular toaster that you use to toast bread, but it has to comply with all the laws. Okay. So we're going to buy bread for you, but the bread can't have certain ingredients in it. Okay. So that's why, that's one way that the government leverages its buying power. Okay. So yeah, where you're dealing with the government and you're thinking about what's the advantage. The advantage is that particular institution, okay, is the private institution is saying, you know what, we have a consortium with the government, so it looks good for their brand. You know, our food production is really, really good. You know, our products are really, really good. Even the government buys them. Even the state buys them. Even the federal government buys them. Okay, so you see how that works.
So we have high standards, comply with law, and so on and so forth. Mhm.
This is a question for you. Is a consortium and a JV the same thing? If no, what's the main difference? What's the main difference?
Oh, that is a hard question. Okay, let's just wait for the answer. So everyone, we have a question for you. So today is our final webinar, and we have more and more questions to you as we have a new topic, but still sort of more interaction and more revision of everything that we were discussing over the previous or today class. So the question is a consortium and joint venture the same thing? If not, what is the main difference? We'll need to wait for the questions. And can you please explain, while we are waiting, the expression to leverage the powers, because we actually have one of
power,
the
that means,
persons.
okay, when you leverage the power, that means you use it. I'm going to leverage my power. I'm going to use it. You know what I mean? I'm going to make it, you know, I'm going to make everything even in a way. I'm just going to use that. I'm going to leverage my power. I'm going to use it to get what I want.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, and we already have some answers to your question about consortium and JV. So Vladislav says that the difference is that everyone has different responsibility in the consortium. And Marusia says in consortium, the parties have no say in each other's day-to-day operations. Okay,
that's the one I was looking for. So the consortium, we have no day-to-day operations. It's like, for instance, you have a friend and you send your child, to go to the friends, you need a babysitter, and you send your child to your friend's house for babysitting, and then the child come home. You don't have anything to say about how the woman runs her house after the child runs, how the woman runs her house, how she cleans her house, nothing. You basically send the child there and the child comes home and that's it. So it's two separate entities. The JV is not two separate entities. It's two entities that are building a third entity to create a particular purpose.
And there are also two more comments, and one is very interesting, if I may just repeat them. So Yelena says that risks and duties are different, and another Yelena says that they are different, and she says very interesting thing, as joint venture operates for making profit, and consortium is for non-for-profit organizations.
Very good.
Is it like this, or consortium can be also for business, for making money, or not, or mostly for non-for-profit?
It's usually not for profit. It's more for convenience. You know what I mean? Okay, here we are. We're working together. Let's make it easy for everybody. That's basically what a consortium. Let's get together and let's just make it easier. You know what I mean? If I have questions about a particular part, like we're talking about the airline. If I have a question about a particular part, if I have a question about a airplane, I don't have to go to an outside consultant. You've done this before. I can call you and you can guide me. Okay. University students. Okay. I want a class, I have a job. I work from 9 to 12 and I have to take this math class, but the time of the math class is 10 a.m. But another university, part of the consortium, is offering that class at 4 p.m. I can take that class at 4 p.m. So it's just making it easier for everybody. See what I'm saying? In terms of government and private, okay. Basically, government, we need services, we need goods. Government needs goods, we need services. You know what I mean? Let's work together. It's easier for us to work together and for you to provide those goods and for us to go looking for them. Okay? That's a consortium. Okay, so now we're going to start with business cooperatives. So we've done JVs, we've done consortiums, and now business cooperatives. Business cooperatives are totally, totally different. Very similar to the other ones, but totally different. Okay. Business cooperative is a unique business entity that is democratically, very important, democratically controlled by its members who are limited to one vote, regardless of how many shares of the corporation a member owns. Okay. So it's a democracy. It's not, what did the board say? What did one vote for everybody, and it's run by the shareholder. It's run by the shareholders, okay, or the members. They're not called shareholders. They're called members. The purpose of a cooperative is to realize the economic, cultural, and social needs of the organization's members and its surrounding community. Okay, So that's the purpose, you know, so it has more, it has a social, both a social and an economic purpose. Reasons to start a business cooperative: provide employment opportunities, investment opportunities, growth, even distribution of wealth, expand new and existing market opportunities, improve product or service quality, decrease cost. Okay, so these are the, when people are going into a cooperative, they're like, wow, food is really, really, really expensive. Let's try to do a co-op and bring it to a community, and therefore we can offer food at a cheaper price. That's an example. Food co-ops are very, very popular, at least in New York. I don't know in other places, but at least in New York. There are several cooperative business models. The cooperative business principles model. The difference between cooperatives and other businesses are often expressed as three broad principles that characterize all cooperatives and explain how they operate. So there are three business models for cooperatives. The user-owner principle. The member users own and provide the necessary financings. Members finance cooperatives in several different ways. So I give you the food. I want to start a food cooperative. Me and another, let's say 50 or 60 people get together. We pool our money. And we start this cooperative. So we own it. The user control principle. Okay, the member users control the business. They elect the board of directors and approve changes in its structure and operation. The board sets policy and is responsible for business oversight. All right, the members get together. They form a cooperative. They get a board. They elect the board. But remember, a lot of times, what you have to remember, a lot of times the board members are owners. Okay, so it's not like you have outside board. No, the board members are owners, and the board sets the policy and is responsible for business oversight. So again, I start a food cooperative. I want to start a food cooperative because food is expensive. 60 of us get together, we finance it. Okay, but say for instance, we want the board of directors to run it. The board of directors would be within the pool of the 60 members. So we're not going to go outside for board. Huh?
And can I ask a question? Because
sure.
I think it's my question. It might be not clear for someone. So when you say that like 60, 50 people get together, food is expensive. So what does it mean? So what exactly, how it works? Do they share the costs for producing the food, or they pool all together
let me give
the
you an example of a food cooperative.
Just example.
A food cooperative is like a supermarket. So they come together, and many times they can say they produce the food. Sometimes they produce it and sell it. That's possible too. But basically, I'm going to use the supermarket. So they form a food cooperative, and they decide that they're only going to serve, like say, organic stuff. So you go to it's a supermarket. It's usually in a particular neighborhood. At the neighborhood that the 50 or people live in, and you go into the supermarket, and as even everybody can go in, but because it's owned the way it is, they control what goes in and what goes out. They negotiate. The food is usually better quality and less expensive, usually. Okay?
So basically they contribute this food, or they just kind of control how it is produced and what is being sold in the supermarket?
They control what's being sold in the supermarket. It depends. Sometimes they may control how it's being produced if they go to if they, say, okay, we're only going to go to small farmers, because we know that the quality of their food is good. So they make all the decisions as to what goes into this cooperative market.
Okay, that is hard. 50 people making decisions. I have no idea.
Well, I mean, again, like I said, sometimes you have a board. Maybe you have a board that's maybe 10, you know what I mean? But everybody gets a vote. That's very, very important. And that's the advantage of a cooperative. Okay, 50 people making a decision. All right, do we only want to sell organic food? Maybe they don't all want to sell organic food, but if the majority, if 50, out of the 50 people, if 26 say yes, then you sell organic food. The goal is with the cooperative is to get out of the big business, big corporation mentality.
Okay.
That's why.
And we have also a question from Yelena about the cooperative. Maybe does these business model help to maybe minimize the amount of taxes you pay, or it doesn't matter much? Or maybe
Doesn't
there are
matter much.
some.
No, it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with taxes. Nothing. No, it doesn't have
Okay.
to do with taxes.
So
It's just
because
basically you're
yeah, because there was a
controlling-
question, maybe some people choose it because it's like less tax, less
No, that's for the
taxes or something.
nonprofit. That's for the
Uh-huh.
nonprofit. No, it has nothing to do with taxes. It has everything to do with you wanting to control what's going in your body, what you sell in your community to fulfill a need, etc. Okay. Say, for instance, you don't have a pharmacy. You may want to start a cooperative for a pharmacy because there's a need for it. And then the members decide how the pharmacy is going to run, etc. Okay. The third model is that go ahead.
No, I was just thinking that you said that to get out of the corporation like mindset. So maybe because big businesses just don't come to this neighborhood and there is no pharmacy just because no one makes this pharmacy.
Exactly. There are a lot of places called in the United States called food deserts, where you have a lot of low income families that don't have good supermarkets in their neighborhood. So they have to travel to get good quality food. That would be a perfect place for a food co-op.
Okay, thank you.
The user benefit principle assures that the cooperative's only purpose is to provide and distribute benefits to members based on their use. Benefits may include a service otherwise not available, advantages from volume purchasing of sales or distribution of profits based on member use of the cooperative. And there are some cooperatives that are only for members, or members get, say for instance, you can have the user benefit principle where you open a cooperative and only the people who are part of the cooperative who invested in it work in it, and they're the only ones that can take advantage of it. They're the only ones that can go in it. Yeah, that happens a lot. I would assume that it happens in smaller markets more so than New York, simply because in all the cooperatives that I know, food cooperatives I know in New York, they let other people come in. Yeah. Types of cooperatives, retail cooperatives. Retail cooperatives are the type of consumer cooperative, which help create retail stores to benefit the consumers, making the retail our store. So imagine going into, I don't know, Saks Fifth Avenue. Instead of Saks Fifth Avenue belonging to Saks, you have a Saks Fifth Avenue belonging to 50 or 60 people, and it's their store. They decide what quality goods, which designers to use, etc. They allow consumers the opportunity to supply their own needs, gain bargaining power, and share earnings. Okay, so it's not like you're not earning money. You are earning money, but you're sharing it among a small group of people. They are organized as communities or other local groups owning their own retail stores. Retail cooperatives are often found in small communities where local businesses have shut down. Example, hardware, food, agriculture, even movie theaters. So you could do a cooperative in movie theater. We don't have a movie theater. There's 60 of us, 70 of us. Let's get one together. Okay, worker cooperatives. Members of a worker cooperatives are both employees of the business as well as owners of the cooperatives. Very, very common again in the food cooperatives in New York. A lot of times you go in and at the cash register, a person is basically one of the owners. That's they take turns running the place. This is one of the fastest growing segments of the cooperatively owned businesses. Possibilities for being organized as a worker cooperative include new business startups, entrepreneurs, sharing highs and lows of a business, or conversion of an existing business. Example, bakeries, retail stores, software development groups, and aquaculture. Not agriculture, aquaculture. So, yeah, you come in, you're a small business or a startup, or you're an entrepreneur and you're having problems, you know what I mean? So you said, let's all get together and do this. There's going to be 50, 25 or 30%, 30 of us. We're going to start this business and we're going to work together. Okay. We're going to own it and work it. Okay. So you don't have to go outside for, for your workers, you work together. Larger companies also have an option of employee stock ownership. This means employees will own stake in the business, allowing for similar types of democracy in workplace. That's usually for bigger things. That happens a lot, but not as often. Types of cooperatives. Service cooperatives. Service cooperatives are a type of consumer cooperative. Remember, consumer, people are coming, they need the help. which help fill a need in the community. They allow consumers the opportunity to supply their own needs, gain bargaining power, share earnings. They are organized to give members more control. I think we talked about this. Types of cooperatives, housing cooperatives. Okay, this is very, I'm going to read this definition to you, but I'm going to tell you how co-ops work in New York City. Housing cooperatives. Housing cooperatives are a type of service cooperative which provides a unique form of home ownership. They allow homeowners the opportunity to share costs of home ownership. They are organized as an incorporated business formed by people who wish to provide and jointly own their housing. The units in a housing co-op are owned by the cooperatives, and in some cases cannot be sold for profit. Okay, so in New York, I don't know of any. Well, no, that's not true. Some of them, there are a couple of buildings in New York that you can't sell your apartment for profit. So what happens in the co-op? Say, for instance, you want to buy an apartment, and the apartment you want to buy is in a co-op. Okay, you do the application process. There's a board on the co-op. The co-op has a board. The board has to approve your application. So they interview you. They look at the type of person you are, how much money you earn, how many children you have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. After the approval, then you can buy the co-op. It's okay to buy the co-op. Okay. If you own a co-op in New York City, yes, you can sell it for a profit. There are very rare instances where there's cooperative houses where you can't sell it for a profit. Okay, very important. So there are co-ops and there are condos. In terms of buying an apartment, there are co-ops and condos, at least in New York City. Condo is much easier to get than a co-op, simply because the co-op board has to approve you, because you pay for everything that happens. Say, for instance, something happens in the building needs a new roof. Everybody has to chip in to buy the new roof. That's how the co-op works. Okay. What does the cooperative landscape look like in Russia? What is the most popular cooperative model?
Okay, everyone, the question is for you. If we have such a form of business sort of relationship, or just any business relationship? And while we're waiting for the answer, we actually have a question from our viewers. So the question is about is as follows: can legal entity, not an individual, be the member of a cooperative?
In a legal entity, I've never heard of that, but it wouldn't make sense. Because what did I say? A cooperative is a group of people that are coming together. They want to change things. You see what I'm saying? So if you have a legal entity that comes in, that means they have more money, they have more power, and the people don't have a voice. The goal of a cooperative is for everyone to have a voice, to fulfill a need. Okay, we don't have a movie theater. So we're going to come in and we're going to put our money together and we're going to get a movie theater. We're going to make money, but we're going to, see the movies that we want to see. We're going to have, it's going to look the way we want to look. We want it to look. So a cooperative is about control. Who has control? That's what a cooperative is. If you bring in a business entity, the business entity probably has more money, and the business entity is probably going to want to control things. You don't want that. So no, cooperatives are groups of people. We are cooperating together.
Okay, thank you very much. So we do have some answers to the question about the cooperative landscape. So mostly everyone says it's in the housing. So a lot of people have their small summer, like Dutches, like summer log houses, if I may say so, or like small summer houses. And it's like garden communities where people are organizing themselves. So it's from Pavel Yelena. So yes, gardening non-for-profit partnerships. So but there is a specification from Olga that basically you don't need to get the approval of the others if you buy your summer sort of house in such a community. So there are some specifics. And probably there is a TSG, which is the community of the owners of condos, especially if you have a new apartment block. So you basically get together all of the owners and they decide how much money they are going. So they hire the contractors themselves, not the government provides them to them, and so on and so forth. So they distribute the costs and so on.
I want to make, and I want to reinforce this. although these are for social goods, they're not nonprofits. Some of them may be nonprofits, but if it's for social good, a lot of them are for profit. You know what I mean? We're getting together to have a movie theater. We don't have a movie theater. So we're getting together. We're going to pool our money together. The important thing in a co-op is that you have a group of people, not a corporation, that are making the decisions. Not board members, not outside board members. You know what I mean? The co-op, the board members are usually cooperative owners. You see what I'm saying? So we're getting together. We're going to have our own theater. We're going to make money, but a big movie company like Disney is not going to run it. It's not going to own it. We're going to own it. It's going to be for the community. The people can come, they pay us, we make money, etc. So it's not for nonprofit. We're not dealing with nonprofit. It's for social good. A lot of it may be for social good or to fulfill a need. Like I said, if there's a food desert, think about it. If what we call a food desert, there's no supermarket for like maybe 5 or 6 blocks in the community. Okay, we get together and we do a cooperative. Of course, we're going to make money, but no one is going to tell us how to run it. You know what I mean? If we only want to have organic food, we're only going to have organic food. If we only want to buy from a particular supplier, we're going to buy from that particular supplier. So we decide how we're going to make our profit. What's best for us? What's best for the community? But as you know, corporations don't think like that. Corporations think of what the bottom line, what makes the most profit. So that's
I think it requires so much self-organization and really negotiation and collaboration among the members that it's really a great thing. We have some comment from one of our viewers, so that we used to have such cooperatives in the late 80s and 90s. But Olga says that we don't think that we have them now in the form that they exist in the United States.
Yeah.
So, and someone says also is that in Russia, we might have agricultural cooperatives. So,
agricultural cooperatives are very, very, very popular, becoming more unpopular because you have a lot of small farms, independently, they would lose money. But if they work as a cooperative, you know what I mean? They could pool all their resources and they could make a profit. So it's, again, very, very important. Profit. So again, with the once somebody had said something about the owning property. As I said, if you go in front of the condo board, they don't like you, you don't get in. Because remember, you're buying into property, so you're going to be dealing with them on a regular basis. So they could say no. In reference to the housing that you can't sell for profit, it's a very, 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 very limited amount. I think there are 2 or 3 buildings in New York that are like that, where you come in, you move in, and I'm pretty sure you get the money that you put in. So say, for instance, you bought an apartment for $20,000. It's very cheap. Okay, that's $20,000. That's the co-op. You go in, when you're selling it, you get your $20,000 back, but you don't make a profit of it. And in New York, that is called a michelama. But there is very, very, very few instances that exists in the United States. All right, 10 important steps in organizing a cooperative. You hold a meeting, explore with others if you have similar interests. So you get together with a group of people. This is what's lacking, or this is what we'd like to do, and you go forward. You look at the needs of the group. Select a steering community to guide you through the process. A steering community is a group of people that come together and say, okay, today we're going to do this, today we're going to do that. This is the timeline, et cetera, et cetera. Conduct a survey of potential members. What do the members want? You know what I mean? If you want to form a cooperative and you want it to be only, organic food, and you conduct a survey, and most of the members, potential members, remember the members are going to put in the money, they want it to be, non-organic, and both non-organic and organic food, then, you know what I mean? You might have to change your vision. You analyze the market for products, supplies, and services, okay? Where are we going to get this? Can we afford this? You know what I mean? How are we going to do this with a profit? We're a small group. How are we going to get this? So you have to do all of that market research, and then you prepare a business plan and go forward. You incorporate the business. It's a corporation. It is a corporation. Adopt bylaws and select the board of directors. Usually the board of directors are owners of the cooperative. You find investment funds, including member investment, needed to carry out the business. Okay, so usually, again, it's usually funded by the members, usually. Okay, you hire management employees and acquire facilities and equipment, and you begin operations. So I don't want you to think that this is a non-profit thing. No, people go into cooperatives because they want to make money. Okay, so last but not least, what is a nonprofit organization? Okay, a nonprofit organization is a business that has been granted tax-exempt status by the Internal Revenue Service because it furthers a social cause and provides a public benefit. Universities, churches. Donations made to a nonprofit organization are typically tax deductible. Do you guys know what I mean by tax deductible?
Yeah.
Okay, tax deductible to individuals and businesses that make them, and the nonprofit itself pays no tax on the received donations or any other money earned through fundraising activities. Nonprofit organizations are sometimes called NPOs or 50C3 organizations based on the section of the tax code that permits them to operate. So 50C3 is, you know, a lot of times you meet somebody from a organization, they want money from you, they say, I'm 501C3. You know what that means? Okay, that means if I give you a donation, I can write it off of my taxes. I won't be taxed for it. I could deduct it from my taxes. A non-for-profit versus a not-for-profit, okay? The difference between a nonprofit and not-for-profit. A key is their purpose. As mentioned, nonprofits must offer some social benefit and provide goods and services, okay? So social benefit of church, a lot of churches are not-for-profit. Not-for-profits not-for-profits need not have such an orientation and may exist simply to serve their membership rather than a society at large. Example, a neighborhood football club. So say, for instance, you have a soccer club, a football club, and you know you have to organize the club, you have to raise money for uniforms, for transportation, you want to buy a truck to take the players from one place to another. You would do a not-for-profit. Yeah, a not-for-profit because, wait a minute, yeah, not-for-profit.
Yeah.
Non-profit, yeah, because, okay, because you're getting the money that you're getting is not you're earning money to maintain the club. Okay, you're not doing it for profit, you're maintaining the club. Okay, as opposed to the other one, it's for the benefit of society. You know what I mean? I'm helping children who are often I'm, you know, helping feeding the poor. So that's a difference. So you have one for smaller organizations that smaller organizations need to run. So they need a method for them not to be taxed. Okay, we're a group of people, we're getting together. We have this football club. We need this, we need that, we need that. We're not doing it for profit, we're doing it for fun. And the other one is the opposite of that. It's for the greater good.
And we need to show that the money that comes in are for these specific objectives, and we're not earning on anything and we're spending them, so they're not taxed extra.
Exactly. We're spending it for that particular reason, yeah. So like I said, nonprofits, bigger good, not-for-profits, smaller, you think about a football club. Nonprofit funding sources. Nonprofits may receive income or donations from a variety of sources. Some of the most common ways nonprofits fundraise and earn revenue: individual donations. Nonprofits often rely on individual donors who contribute money, goods, services to support their mission. Donors can give one-time or recurring donations, and they may give through various channels, including online platforms, direct mail, or event. So a lot of times now, if you go to a church, for instance, a lot of them now, before they didn't have this, but they have, do you want a one-time contribution or do you want to make a recurring? So say, for instance, you belong to this church and you want to give $10 every month. So you say recurring. So every month they take $10 from your account. Grants, this is very important. Nonprofits may receive grants from foundations, corporations, or government agencies. Grants are typically awarded for specific projects or programs and may require the nonprofit to meet certain conditions or reporting requirements. Nonprofits usually have to apply for the grant, which requires an extensive application process. So you have a lot of nonprofits that have people in there that come in to write grants only. That's what they do. They're grant writers. Because their goal is to get money for projects. Okay. So That's all they do. They come in, this is a grant, we need you to do this. How are we going to get the money? And they're experts at writing that. They know how to, they know, it looks request a proposal. So the government or whatever usually asks you for a proposal. The grant writer knows exactly what to do, where to put the right answers in order to better your chance to get money. Okay, corporate gifts. Corporations may donate money, goods, or services to nonprofits as part of their corporate social responsibility initiatives or to support causes that align with their values or mission. Okay? So a lot of times, remember I had talked about the goodwill? That's what I was thinking about. So a lot of times corporations give money, or, a lot of times corporations now have a thing to help women entrepreneurs, so they may go to a nonprofit that helps women, battered women, or women who are homeless, who want to start their business, and they may give them a big chunk of money for that. And the government, the corporation, the for-profit gives them the money, and it's tax deductible. So major events, nonprofits often host such as events as galas, auctions, or charity runs to raise money and be aware of their causes. These events may involve ticket sales, sponsorships, or auctions of goods and services. So again, a lot of nonprofits have a major gala, a major event, and that's why they raise money. It may be a party, it may be a dinner. So it's usually big. Everybody gets together and they buy tickets. The tickets go straight to the nonprofit. It could be an auction. A lot of nonprofits, they have the gala and they also have an auction. So you may have an artist, a local artist in the community may donate, for instance, a picture or a painting, and they auction that painting. Everybody knows what an auction is, right?
Yes.
Okay, they auction that painting. So that's another way that they make their money. Major events is big.
I'm just, sitting and thinking that all over the world, there are sometimes so many scandals related to money laundering and so on, because there is a great purpose of these non-profit organizations, but there is always this darker side, because to recognize what is a good non-profit, what is not good.
No, you're right. Like I said, you have to be careful who you donate to. That's like you always look them up. You could look them up and see if they, if they say they're a nonprofit, look them up online to see if they're registered with your state as a nonprofit. Okay. Nonprofits may receive donations of goods or services such as office supplies, equipment, professional services. Instead of individuals, companies donating money, it may be more efficient to have specific goods donated instead. So if you're a nonprofit, you know what I mean? You're serving a community. Let's say you're serving the homeless. You know what I mean? People donate clothes, people donate food, etc. Name 3 nonprofit funding sources.
Oh, that was like straight. Okay, guys, we need to wake up. By the end, we get mentally focused. So everyone started thinking about this money laundering and so on. Again.
In-kind donations, major events, corporate gifts, grants. Let's see, grants and individual donations.
Yes. Okay. So everyone, let's try to remember. Yes, we need to answer the question. Name 3 nonprofit funding sources. Anyone. So yes, anyone. So let's. So we have individuals. So there is an answer that
one. Individuals is one. Go ahead.
Yes. So non-profit funding sources. Okay. There is only Marusia who is staying. Well, we have more actually. We have grants, donations.
Excellent. That's one. Individuals, grants, and what else?
Individuals, grants, donations. So,
and donations, in-kind donations. Excellent. So those are 3 grades. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. So again, the reason why somebody mentioned that, the reason why people would start a nonprofit is because they don't want to pay taxes. Basically it. You want your activities not to be taxed by the government. Nonprofits are tax-exempt entities. However, they're still required to file informational returns to the IRS using Form 990. This tax form provides information about the organization's finance, programs, and activities to the public and the IRS. They have to know, you have to delineate, okay, I'm running a social service program, and this is what we do. So the IRS, you have to prove to the IRS that's what you're doing. You just can't say, oh, we're running a social service program. The IRS gets that form. It's Form 990. The form is used for charitable, religious, educational, other types of tax-exempt organizations. Private foundation, charitable trust, and political organizations must also file a Form 990. Pros of nonprofits: focus on the specific missions that improves the well-being of a community. If you're feeding hungry people, that's your mission. It's exempt from taxes, allowing for more resources to be deployed more efficiently. If you don't have to pay taxes and you're running a food pantry for homeless people, that money that you would be taxed, that you would use to pay taxes, you can buy food now. May have a broad range of funding and donation sources. Okay, you can get your money from a lot of different places. Like we said, we got 3 grants: government grants, corporate grants, etc. So you can get money from a lot of different places. You can get in-kind donations. You know what I mean? You may need office equipment. You don't have to buy it. Somebody may donate it to you. They often rely on volunteers for labor. Sometimes, I put that sometimes, many large nonprofits in the US have paid staff. So if you're a small nonprofit, you might, need, you might use volunteers, but otherwise, you have the money to do it. The cons: may have unpredictable revenue. Okay, so you may get a grant, for $10 million. And after you use that grant for 5 years, there's no more money. What are you going to do? Must comply with regulations and donor stipulations. All right. So if I say to you, I'm going to give you this office equipment, but it could only be used in an office where children are being held. That's a stipulation. Or you can't use this equipment, to help, XYZ people. You know what I mean? So there are always stipulations. Often face competitive disadvantage when hiring compared to for-profit. Okay, for-profits pay much more money. If you have an accountant at a for-profit is going to probably make twice as much money as a accountant for as an accountant in a non-profit. Non-profits don't. Okay, I'm going to say that nonprofits usually don't pay that well. What's the primary benefit of a nonprofit creation? What's the primary benefit? Somebody tell me.
Okay, question for everyone. You can see this question up on the screen. And while we're waiting for the answers, we have another tricky question. So, Alexandra, we remember that our viewers are lawyers or law students. So that's why they always, not always, but very often ask tricky question. And there is a question: can I organize a non-profit bakery, pay no taxes, and pay myself a salary as a director?
Yeah, you can, as long as you can show that this bakery is doing a public good. It's for public good. Okay,
so it is possible.
It is possible. Yeah, and people start nonprofits all the time. I mean, like I said, people think that nonprofits don't have money. I'm going to go through this. Okay, we're going to go through this. I'm going to rush through it because we're running out of time, Sophia. I'm going to try to. What is the primary?
Of course, English. So, what is the primary benefit of nonprofit? Sorry, Alexandra. Creation. So, free taxes.
Exactly. That's basically it. If you want, that's the primary. That's the primary one. We don't want to pay taxes. Overseeing a nonprofit, board members are fiduciaries who steer the organization toward a sustainable future by adopting sound ethical and legal governance and financial management policies, as well as making sure that the nonprofit has adequate resources to advance its mission. So basically, the board oversees the nonprofit and executive director. The board has a lot of power, much more power in I would say much more power in the day-to-day activities of a nonprofit than in a for-profit. Because I used to work for a nonprofit and the board would meet every month and they would know what's going on. So yeah, the boards can get really involved. Okay, so again, you have 2 kinds of boards. The managing board oversees the day-to-day operations of the company, meet more frequently than for-profit board. Like I said, the company that I used to work for, the board used to meet monthly on a monthly basis. And we all had to be there. All the employees had to be there. And if something was going on, whatever. So very important. You have advisory boards are assembled for a particular purpose. Example, if the nonprofit is having a gala, they would assemble a group of people to organize this gala. When the gala is over, the advisory board is dismantled. So you have an advisory board for a particular purpose. The fiduciary duties of the board, duty of care. take care of the nonprofit by ensuring prudent use of all assets, including facility, people, and goodwill. So remember, you're a nonprofit. You can't waste things. It's not good to waste. Make sure the money is going where it's supposed to be going. If you have a large nonprofit and you have an educational grant to tutor homeless children, you cannot usually use that money to tutor anybody else. It has to be for homeless children. So that's what the board says when you get together with the board. Okay, you're using the money to do this, but you're not supposed to be using the money to do this. The grant money is supposed to go to XYZ. Very important. Duty of loyalty, ensure that the nonprofit's activities and transactions are first and foremost advancing its mission. Okay, so if your mission is to help the homeless, that's what you should be doing. You shouldn't be having a bakery. Okay, unless that bakery is employing the homeless in order to advance them. You see how that goes? Recognize and disclose conflicts of interest, like a regular board, like a for-profit board. Conflicts of interest is very important. You can't have them. Make decisions that are in the best interest of the nonprofit corporation, not in the best interest of the individual board member or any other individual or for-profit entity. So say, for instance, you get a large grant from Coca-Cola, right? And there's a decision that has to be made. And you are making the decision based on your loyalty to the board that you're sitting on, the nonprofit board, not Coca-Cola. Okay? Just because Coca-Cola gave you a lot of money doesn't mean that your loyalty lies with Coca-Cola. It lies with the board.
And can I ask a question? Because we have a question which is exactly in the line what you are saying, Alexandra. There's a question about who finally determines the presence or absence of a public good in the activities of a nonprofit.
Okay, the IRS, because you have to really, you have to really send them a detailed explanation of what you're doing. Okay, so a lot of churches, I mean, like a lot of churches can get away with a lot of things because religion is very tenuous, but a lot of churches have food pantries, a lot of churches do this, so you have to describe, that's where the Form 990 comes. You got to tell them your activity, exactly what you're doing. And they determine it. Oh, we're a bakery and, we sell to people in the street and and then they're going to ask you, where's the public good? How is that bakery a public good? Who are you serving? So that's where the Form 990 comes. Does that answer the question?
I think absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
And we have like 3-4 minutes left, Alexandra.
Yeah, I'm going to go through this career. So I know because you have to do duty of obedience. You ensure that the nonprofit obeys applicable laws and regulations, follow its own bylaws, and that the nonprofit adheres to its stated corporate purposes and mission. So that's what the board does. You know what I mean? You're following the laws. We have bylaws. We're supposed to vote a certain way. We're supposed to have a quorum. All of that's the responsibility of the board. Okay. Yes, nonprofits merge and acquire. Oh, usually in medical, organizational, educational sectors. Okay, I'm not going to ask this question because we only have 4 or 5 minutes. Okay, so here is what nonprofits should consider when the M&A. SWOT is what? Strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Okay, what are the strengths of the organization that you're merging with? Okay, mission alignment. Are you merging with somebody that's in line with your mission? If your organization is helping, battered women, okay, are you merging with an organization that is helping men who are, Vietnam veterans? Is that in line? So they're not in line, so you wouldn't merge with an organization like that. Founder transitions. Founding and running a nonprofit is incredibly hard work. Merging gives the acquired founder a graceful exit and opportunity to start fresh and prevent burnout. So remember the transitions in the corporate. If you saw for-profit, sometimes they found the person who was running it or the manager or the CEO. They gave them a lot of money. Okay. The founding person is usually the CEO. There's a transition. There's usually not money because it's a nonprofit. So basically, they're looking to see if we merge with this and we ask the founder of this organization to leave. Is he going to leave easily? Does he want to leave? What does he want to do? As opposed if it was for profit, they would probably give him a lot of money and there would be no problem. Culture, are the cultures the same? Is it flat or hierarchical? What's the startup environment established? Was it central or distributed? So you look at all the things, the culture, do both cultures merge? Or do you have to change your cultures if you're going to merge or acquire? Technology and the policy. Is the technology the same? Are they using technology that we can't, that's going to be difficult for us to adjust to based on the way we do things? One such technologies may be accounting. You know what I mean? Their program for accounting, is it the same as ours? Is it going to be hard? Because they have, you know, certain payments they make, we don't make those payments, etc. Stakeholders, nonprofits affect a lot of people. Okay. So, you know, the board, the community, the donors, the partners, beneficiaries, you know, how are the stakeholders going to react? Are they going to be happy about it? How are they going to be affected? I'll skip that. I want to go through, this is a question. Nonprofit fun facts. In 2022, the nonprofit organization in the nonprofit in the organization in the US with the highest paid CEO was Centara Health, with an estimated salary of $33.22
million.
So $30 million. So you see, nonprofits, people, CEOs make a lot of money. Okay. Lutheran Services in America, richest nonprofit, Lutheran Services. They're the richest nonprofit. They were founded 25 years ago. The nonprofit's network is worth $23 billion. And in terms of revenue, is the highest earning nonprofit company in the USA. Okay. Harvard University is a nonprofit. Its president's salary is $879,000 a year. So when we think of nonprofits, we think, oh, there's no money. No, there's a lot of money in nonprofits. You just need to know the route to go. And you just have to know where your donors are, how to get money from your donors. Any questions? Okay, the end. I think we're right on time.
Thank you, Alexandra. That was like
smashing. So many things I wanted to talk about, but the mergers and acquisitions and everything, I had questions, but we're running out of time.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. No. It's wonderful. So, and there's so much information to think about and to discuss. And you gave us so much room for thought, and we are extremely grateful. And I would really like to actually ask, first of all, of course, Alexandra, who was the heart, the soul, and the main source of information, your charisma, your knowledge, your personality really enlightened this project, and we're extremely grateful to you. And everyone's saying happy Christmas, Alexandra, approaching, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you guys too. Thank you.
Yes.
You so much.
So, and also together with Alexandra, I would like to actually, I would like to ask the team who is behind this project. First and foremost, of course, I would like to thank Regional English Language Office, Moscow, and personally to people who were behind all of this and without whom it would not be possible to make this fourth project actually already, who are Jennifer Euler, the Regional English Language Officer of all Russia, and of course Tamrika Khvishatshvili, who is our English language specialist, who was the main coordinator of our project. And from our Russian side, I would like to thank the Institute of Advocacy of St. Petersburg Chamber of Lawyers, thanks to whom who basically give us already for the fourth time the studio to be here. And from this Institute of Advocacy, we're always talking. They're our major partner. And personally, I would like to thank Roman Kondratiev, who already for the fourth time is also behind the scenes with our technician. And sometimes you can see his hands or him in the picture. And of course, I would like to thank our team of Legal English Center, CIS, who were tirelessly working on this project and making it happen. So, and we are at the end. I cannot even believe it. So, and how we are going to work from now. So first of all, what we need to say that all of the webinars are free for you to use forever. The presentations which were so kindly given to us by Alexandra are also on the official website of the project. You can use them, you can download them, you can see them. And we're extremely grateful to Alexandra. They are huge. There's so much information there. And also, we would like to remind you that for every presentation, we made the translation of about 30-40 words, which are the major words, and they're also free and accessible to you, so you can use them. And the last thing, just 2 minutes, we have like 2 days of quietness, and we will just remind you all of the vocabulary in our Telegram channel, of Contacte, and everywhere. And on weekend, at the beginning of a weekend, early on Saturday morning, on our website, and also all of you who are registered, it will be sent out to you to the link to the online test, which is based on their presentations and webinars. So, and by taking it, you are and if you are successful, you will know it at midnight, spending on Sunday. So the deadline is midnight Sunday, and on Monday, like early morning, you will receive the answer whether you were successful or not. So you don't have to answer all of the questions correctly, just some of them. And if you are lucky ones, then within like a week, you will receive a free certificate from Regional English Language Office that you accomplished this course. Basically, it was really a course in business English. So, and I may say that, I would like to say, Alexandra, that it was not just legal English. It was really a course in the law, and it was amazing. So everyone, what is great about it is that, speaking about our test, is that you don't have to do it in one go. You can look at the answers, do it on your draft, then get back to it, write the answers. You can always, I don't know, stop, rewatch the videos, and then get back to them. So we are trying it to be as easy as possible for you. And Alexandra, so there are also the comments from our viewers that your lectures, Alexandra, are informative, enlightening, and very helpful in terms of learning about American law. Thank you very much. And there are a lot of thanks. And everyone, just wanted to also to ask you, if you have any comments to Alexandra, please write them to us in English. We will forward them to Alexandra, because I bet it's always great to hear some nice words. Okay, yes. So Alexandra, so I cannot even believe that I'm saying goodbye to you. And we really wish you happy holidays, and finally some quiet time. So this run is over, and we're extremely grateful to you. And we're not saying goodbye, like we will be communicating, and we will forward to you all the comments from our viewers. And speaking about our webinars, this is the official end. And goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, goodbye, and say hi to New York. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.